Welcome back to the Reboot Era, the podcast where we dive deep into the stories of career pivots, resilience, and what comes next after a major change. Before we dive in, a quick heads up for job seekers. I've partnered with JobHire.ai, a platform that will apply to jobs for you, even while you're sleeping. This August 2025, you can get 30% off any plan with code DRAY30, DRAY30. Check the footer of this episode for the details and the link to make sure you get your discount. And yes, if you don't get an interview in 15 days, you'll get your money back. Now let's get into the episode. I'm your host, Dre Jankowski, and today's guest is Nellie Hughes, a design director with 2 decades in the gaming industry, most recently at Xbox Publishing. Nellie's career spans open world content, systems and monetization design, and leading creative teams. But just a few weeks ago, she found herself navigating something she's experienced from both sides of the table, a layoff. We talk about the culture inside Xbox, the power of networking, ageism in tech, and games that shaped her career. We also talk about why kindness can be your best career strategy. So let's jump in.
My name is Nellie Hughes. I am a design director previously at Xbox as of about 2 weeks ago. I have been in the game industry for about 20 years, primarily focusing on open world game design content. I've done all sorts of design content. I've done systems design, monetization design. I've done creature design. So I have a lot of background in the design space. I've also done a lot of people management. I was a design manager for multiple years, running a couple different companies, design departments, and then I ended up doing what my most recent job was about 3 years ago, which is a design director at Xbox Publishing. And there, my job, instead of managing people, was kind of like a creative producer role. So it was my job to make sure that the project that I was on was hitting the quality bar and focusing on other things like accessibility, making sure that, they're keeping accessibility representation, and other factors of, how to keep people in your game in mind when they were developing the game.
Well, Nellie, thanks for calling into the Reboot Era. And the first question's going to be design director at Xbox Game Studio Publishing. No more.
No
You
more.
got laid off.
I was in the second round.
Now, Microsoft is huge. That's a lot of numbers, but did you see it coming? Was this from people who are not at Microsoft, right? Myself, I got laid off from CrowdStrike. I heard word that somebody's going to have, I think Microsoft had their first round a week after my layoff. And I was like, great, I have to compete with all these Microsoft individuals who are amazing. And then another 9,000.
Well, we're technically employed until August 31st. So
okay. So still there.
Yes, I just don't have access to anything or am doing any work. So, but yeah, I think for this particular case, I think if you've been in the industry long enough, you can smell the despair in the hallways when you go in. And I feel like a couple months previously, it was clear things were changing. And, as you said, Microsoft is a big company. And so I wasn't in the leadership level. So I just kind of had a feeling. But I also had friends that are at ZeniMax, for example, that had no idea it was coming. So I feel, I don't know, it's a double-edged sword, right? I spent the previous 2 months waiting for this D-Day and started smoking again because that's disgusting. And just kind of waiting. So I was glad that they ripped the Band-Aid off because I think the uncertainty in the air was very, very powerful. And so I feel lucky and not lucky because I had the lead up to it, but at least I kind of was prepared.
One thing I want to ask about being at Microsoft, and this has nothing to do with your layoff. What was it like? Was it cool walking around those buildings? Are they awesomely designed? Give us the inside scoop from the people who haven't worked at Microsoft but have applied a million times.
Yeah, I feel very lucky. I the only reason I got into Microsoft was because a person who actually hired me for a previous job in Seattle reached out to me and said "Hey, I have this really unique position. Would you be interested?" And she's amazing, and she brought me in. And so I would say that honestly, Xbox Publishing in particular was the best job I've ever had. I worked with all of these people who have been in the industry since, like, I've been in it since 2005, so I kind of came in like the MMO era, right? And so like I was working with people that were doing like 360 games, like Voodoo Vince was the guy who made Voodoo Vince was my boss, and like like that's like a is that a 90s shareware game? Like it was just really cool. So I got to see like I got to hear all these amazing stories and like horror stories about the early game design industry, and was able to just kind of, I think, I don't know, just surround myself with really cool folks. And I will also say that like I went through some incredibly hard personal times, and like those people rallied against me, right? I was going through divorce, and my boss was like, "You just take care of yourself. Like, that's it. And, like, if you don't wanna come to work, you don't have to come to work. Like, just, like, take care of yourself." And there was a couple months where, like, I did work because I needed to keep my mind busy, but, like, when I would get really sad, I would think about, like, "Oh my gosh, these people have, like, enough faith in, like, my skill set and, like, value me enough that they're going to keep me on while I'm, like, working at 50%, limping along." And I think that was honestly, that was just so helpful during that time. So, like, I think this job hit was definitely a little harder, I think, than I would have expected it because I don't get to work with all of, like, these, like, amazing people that I did.
Yeah, you genuinely loved the people you're surrounded by. And now it's like, what's next? Before we turn this and get more positive, I did want to ask one other question is like, are you still, this was 2 weeks ago. Are you still processing this? Is it processed? Did you cry? Are you crying every day? Like what, how are you going through this emotional roller coaster of a layoff?
Well, I think I was kind of like, I'll put in air quotes, lucky, is like I had a surgery scheduled for the week after, so I got to kind of focus on that. I will say that I sobbed uncontrollably when that mystery meeting came on my calendar because I knew what it was about. I probably sobbed through the meeting while giving the middle finger to the person who was telling me I was laid off, and like I kind of go, I haven't hit all 7 stages of grief, right? Like there'll be times that, like, I get really angry and I want to just, like, point the finger at Mr. Smith and say, like, "You're the reason why I lost my job." But I also have been in this industry long enough where I, like, have that logical thinking that, like, my role wasn't needed anymore, so, like, why would they continue to pay me? And so there is a lot of sadness and a lot of fear, the uncertainty. I'm 45, I'm a woman, like, I do have a wonderful network, but, like, ageism is a thing in the tech industry, and I am scared to basically experience that because I've seen it happen to other people.
And while you were there, have you been on the other side of the table? Have you laid someone off?
Yes, I did. So when I was a people manager, I laid off I actually cried as I was laying them off. 'Cause they were a friend of mine, and, like, they knew it was coming, I knew it was coming, and we had worked to try to get them to a place that, like, that didn't need to happen, but it finally did. And I think I felt worse being the lay-offer. That's not correct English or the right word, but, like, laying someone off felt worse than getting laid off.
People are constantly talking right now on LinkedIn about where's humanity and all of these things. And I think it's with Nellie. Nellie has the humanity that they need to bring back to corporate America.
Well, if that happened, then we'd all just be, like, doing banjo in a fire singing
I mean,
Kumbaya, but
but we'd also be employed.
yes, you would. Oh
So
my
it's like
gosh.
you take what you can get. So now let's turn this page together and let's move on. So what's next? What are you focusing on? How have you taken the first 2 weeks, if you've done anything, to kind of position yourself into a place where you're like, all right, I'm ready. Have you been updating your resume consistently over the last 4 years, or are you starting from scratch being like, I gotta update this?
So, I had a couple jobs earlier previous to Xbox that were a little bit more short-lived for a variety of reasons, but, I figured out then that, like, have this is a terrible like, a master resume, and it's, like, 5 pages long, it's got everything I've ever done on it, and, depending on the job that I'm going to go apply at, like, I will kind of tailor it for that role. I've always kind of been the person waiting for the ball to drop. Imposter syndrome is absolutely a thing for our industry. Even at Xbox Publishing, I never really felt like I deserved that job. So, I have updated my resume, and I've never gotten a job by applying to a position in this industry. It has always been my network. And so I just kind of let my network know, and I love my network because I have a full round next week of one like position. I've got two other irons in the fire that I will probably get full rounds for, and like I haven't hit that stage that I think everybody hits where it's like really hot and then you get ghosted and then your ego goes to shit and you're like crying all the time and like reloading LinkedIn being like, "Let me just see another job for my role." But that hasn't hit yet, so I'm not down. I'm actually feeling pretty positive after this week.
Good. And we want you to continue to be positive. I want to say one thing for the people who might listen to this is being laid off. This is my first layoff, so I have some skin in this game of a perception, but it's a lot different when your resume is stacked with a company like Microsoft and you're 1 week out, 2 weeks out from a layoff, and you're like, oh, I'm interviewing with Google or I'm interviewing with NVIDIA. And it's like, those are companies that some people dream of just getting the interview and they can't even land. Now, it's not to discourage people from saying don't try, but just know that everyone's journey is a little bit different. Have you found that it's a little easier when you apply, the name Microsoft just gets you a call, an interview, an email?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a level of privilege, I think, and I don't want to say like maybe advantage is the wrong word, but like, yeah, I mean, Xbox Publishing definitely is a name that will be like, oh, and combined with a bunch of the other weird stuff I've done, I can fit into a lot of different roles, especially in like the publishing thing now. I think I found that having the design expertise, but having the publishing knowledge has been probably really key for me to get something so quickly.
Yeah. And I want to take one step back real quick is I like to share with people how I know someone. And up until 2 weeks ago, I didn't know you. I had no idea who you were. This amazing person who's working in a city that we both lived in. We've probably passed each other on the highway. No
Or
idea who you
even at,
were.
like, a networking event, right? Like, I mean, I
Exactly.
don't know if you were well, no, you were in COVID, so, yeah, you got stuck inside, but
I
maybe we
mean,
did some virtual happy hours in the
our dogs were
Seattle
in the same
dude.
park.
Yes.
But it's that easy. Is I saw the story, I saw a post, I liked it, I engaged, I messaged and asked you to be on a podcast. It could have been a phone call to talk about your time. It didn't have to be this public thing that we're doing, but networking can really be that easy. And what I've learned from you so far is that you've been on both sides of this. You've laid people off and you've been laid off. You've hired people, you fired people. What advice would you give to people who don't have that background that you have, who don't have the name drop that they can give of the companies they've worked at, but want to work at Microsoft? I'm sure you've seen a ton of resumes.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, what so, like, I think has been really successful for folks in my, network that I've worked with is I'll use this example. I had this really nice gentleman, Tim, reach out to me on LinkedIn probably like 8 years ago. And he had just gotten out of the Navy and he was going to Full Sail and he was like a huge fan of Guild Wars and I was working at Guild Wars at the time. And he just wrote me a LinkedIn message and was like, "Hey, would you be open to having a conversation about like how I navigate this field?" And he was kind and he wasn't demanding and he was respectful, and I continued to talk with him and, like, we still talk. He actually works at ArenaNet right now. Like, he is on Guild Wars. So, like and I'm never gonna take credit for that 'cause, he got himself there, but, like, it was his work of, the MMO industry is also a niche of the video game, which is niche. So, like, he got to talk to the right people and share his passions and his skills with them, and, like, he eventually got an interview and got hired a couple years ago.
Wow. Yeah.
LinkedIn's amazing. Like, I honestly, like, if somebody reaches out to me on LinkedIn and they're kind and, like, ask for advice, and unless like, 9 times out of 10, I will always answer them because, like, it's really important to be kind to people. These are the people who you're going to go to for a job when you get laid out. Like, I instantly called Tim and was like, "What's up at ArenaNet?" So they didn't have anything at the moment, but if they do in the future, like I have somebody that I know that I can talk to there. So, I think networking, especially in like a entertainment industry like we're in, is just like the key to success.
Yeah. And it's that idea and principle around like never burning a bridge, right? You never know selfishly if you'll ever need to walk that path again and go back to a company maybe you used to work at or work with a coworker who you guys only chit chatted on a few projects. But now that networking lead really helps you land your foot in the door, at least for an interview.
Yeah, I mean, that's really what it comes down to, right? Like, I would like all of the folks that I've worked with over the years and mentored and like done introductions. I just matched people up. Like, they got themselves the job because of their skills. And like, unfortunately, I think right now with the way that the industry is, it's like there's just so many people going for the same position that like any edge, like, hey, I worked with this person and they're a great level designer, like that can at least start the conversation to have them pay more than 10 seconds to your resume and like want to talk to you.
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And so, with that, any tips for resumes you've seen? Just things that are like, these things stand out to me as someone who is a director level, who's hiring and potentially looking at resumes a lot. Is there anything that you just off the back of your hand are like, I like these things?
There is a term for it, but basically what I always look for is like what I did and what was that outcome. Like how was the action that I did impactful at the role that I was doing at the time? Sometimes it's harder to like put things in like analytic numbers, but if you can just kind of describe like I had my work positively impacted this project in X. That's just like that's speaks to people.
For people who are interested potentially at working at Microsoft, and I know you can't speak from the company, but from all the things you've seen while you were there, from the leadership meetings you were in, potentially reviewing candidates, from the hiring managers, but also recruiters you worked with, are there things that are like, these help you stand out? Knowing someone, getting a referral, does that really work?
That's huge.
That's
Yes.
huge.
Yes. But also, like, Microsoft is very focused on the impact that you bring to the role that you're at. So if you can communicate your past impacts and like that's would make you stand out, right? But a lot of it really does like it is like, hey, I know somebody that's got a specialty in combat, like, and we have a role that needs that filling. Should we talk to them? And we never just you always open the pool. It's easier if somebody there.
Yeah. Well, that's okay. That's good to know. I think for anyone who's listening or might listen to this, if you're interested in Microsoft, take those little tips,
Hit people up on
try them out.
LinkedIn, right? Like, seriously, like, if you see a role that you want on Microsoft's, like, website, I would say do some due diligence and, like, go see if you can find people who do the same type of role. Don't ask for a referral because unless you Microsoft is not particular, but, like, I think it was an unsaid thing that, like, you just don't refer strangers, like, you refer people that so I wouldn't I've had some people kind of come out of the left field and be like, "Can you give me a referral?" And it's like, "I've never talked to you before, no." But if you can, like, ask them about, like, what they like about the job, like, what they do, show interest in that role, like, that's your name's gonna be remembered.
Yeah, that's nice to know. I think I worked at Amazon, and Amazon, let's see, Amazon, Meta, Google, and Microsoft seem to be the four little pillars of companies that are around there. And I won't go into any more detail than that, but people can look up what people say about those four companies in the area. Amazon, there is this imposter syndrome you get when you first start that a lot of people go through, right? You have to write a 6-page paper in your first few weeks there, and you're like, what is this? And you're
I
kind
did
of
not
in
know
this.
that.
Oh, okay.
I
So,
did not
fun
know that,
fact.
that's crazy.
Not everyone, but that was my experience. But a lot of people were like, same. And you don't get a lot of prep from that. It's a lot of like learning very quickly. But there's this stigma you start to learn about that like everyone walks around with this chip on their shoulder that's like, I work at Amazon. And it's like, yeah, but we all do. We all are in the same Amazon building. We all work here. Like, you're not better than any other person here because we all made it through the LPs, through raising the bar, through doing all this stuff. Now, I've heard very different things about Microsoft. Is there anything that you could share about like when you're walking through those hallways? Is everyone super friendly and just willing to like help you?
Absolutely. Yes. Yes. You know what? And it's really interesting because so like we weren't even on main campus. Like we were like at a different building. And so I actually started during COVID and like not being on main campus, I didn't really see many people outside of my org ever. We had a couple other organizations within our building, but like I would have to work like, for me in particular, like I'm the point person for accessibility and that person works in a totally different building and we would never see each other, but like I could call them up anytime and like ask them the dumbest question and they will be like, yeah, that seems like a totally different experience. Like everybody's so nice. At least in my department. I can't speak for it all, but like my experience was like we're all on the same team. We just want to make great stuff. We want to like it to be like successful so we can keep our jobs, but like we're really all there to like because we are very passionate about giving, people these like memories and experiences and like joy. Like and so like, I think same team. I always use that. Same team, same team. But I think like Xbox Publishing like embodied that, which is really awesome.
That is really cool. And that matches the experience I've had with Microsoft. I was doing freelance consulting over, I'm trying to think, I think it was in 2023. And so I had officially moved to Boise and I was doing this freelance consulting and I got a offer to do like a 6-week project with Touch Worldwide, which does all of the recordings of your guys' like global town halls you would have.
Yes, yes, okay, yep.
And so I got to work with some really cool people. It was largely in like the Azure space and they were doing like cloud computing, but I got to work with these like executive vice presidents to help them. They had been at the company for 20 something years, like since day one. They were like, I'm employee number 100. And I was like, oh, that's cool. And I was like, you live in Medina or like
Yeah. They're like, I drove my hover car here.
yeah, they like they don't commute regularly. Like a helicopter picks them up and
Yes,
takes them
yes.
to work. It's so, but these people were so down to earth. I will say I don't know the person's name and I wouldn't name drop it, but there was one person who like couldn't figure out how to like print screen and I was like, you work at Microsoft. You're working on a Windows computer. You don't know how to print screen.
I can't use Excel worth craps. I barely got through Teams in the 3.5 years I was there. I was like, how does this work?
Super fair.
Yeah, I know. It definitely like I think there's like a couple different Microsoft experiences that you can have, right? Depending every big company goes through like culture shifts and I think I was lucky enough to be there at a really good time. I don't know what it's like there now. I know like some of my friends are still there, but they've been really respectful and like we're just kind of not talking about work at this point because they look super sad and I look super sad. So why like wallow in your sadness when you can just go have a drink at happy hour and not talk about it?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I just wanted to kind of agree with what you were saying. When I got to go to the campus, I got to go to main campus and I got to go to the recording studios and I got to talk to these extremely high up people and their admins. Everyone was so nice. I mean, I got a lot of free snacks, but like they were super nice.
Did you get the coconut water? Because
I don't like
that's
coconut, but I saw it.
what? Yes. It's funny, that coconut water is very prevalent everywhere on the campus.
No, it's like everywhere. Like all of your rooms were so nice to like work in those little conference rooms and even the big conference rooms. It was just like lovely being there. And the recording studios alone is a whole nother realm. And who
I
I
have a
worked
good
with
friend
was great.
who was at the media lab, so, like,
Okay.
yeah, he would like, just to watch him work was always really fun because, like, him and Phil had a really good relationship, and they'd always be goofing around, and, like, it was just it's really cool to, like, to see the people that made the games that made you go into games be just as cool as you wanted them to be.
Yeah. No, that is it's like a full circle moment. That is super cool. Now, let's talk a little bit about not being at Microsoft. What do you want to do next? You want to stay in this space? You want to do something completely different? Like what's happening?
I mean, I think the reality is like I can't imagine doing anything other than games, right? Like there has been no other job I've ever had that has allowed me to be like just unapologetically my weird ass self. I can not shower and go to meetings. Like, I mean, like, I am allowed to be creative and I've never experienced that anywhere else. And so, like, I think I wouldn't do great in a lot of other industries because I don't play politics well. I definitely don't have a filter. And I think in really weird ways. And so, like, I think the game industry for me is a natural fit. Now, will I stay in design? I'm not sure. I'm actually not sure. I am like kind of talking about like marketing positions and some other stuff with folks that would be a way to stay in games but not do design because I think design jobs are going to be harder to find as like it gets more technologically driven out there. So,
Yeah, and I want to talk about that in a moment, but I did want to ask, coming from Microsoft Games, which Xbox is huge, everyone I feel like knows the name. It's a family name at this point.
it is.
What are the like company? What do you look for? Who are like the big like I don't know, big five names. Like who's out there that you're like, if I left Microsoft ever on my own behalf, or now this situation, where do you look to go?
I mean, I think for me, there's a couple different like factors I think about, right? Like I feel like I'm in a phase right now that like I want to work with people that I like instead of just focusing on money. And so I would say Ubisoft, Riot, Blizzard, Bungie, EA, Sony, like the big ones. I feel like I've kind of got a round enough skill set that I'm focusing on those folks, those
Okay.
big companies.
Any interviews with any of them? You don't have to say the names, but any
Yes.
with, ooh, so maybe in your future, you
Yes.
might land one of those cool positions.
We will see, hopefully.
We're crossing our fingers for you.
I just wanna know where the next paycheck's coming from. Like, I'm so excited to, like, work again, but, like, I just stability for me is a big thing. So I'm really, like, looking forward to, like,
Direct
being able
deposit.
Yes, being able to sleep at night, right?
Literally, this morning I woke up and I had great news. I was like, I just passed my PMP and was like, woo, first
Congratulations.
time. Thank you. And then my dog's itching his ear, and I was like, let me go look at his ear. And it has this like disgusting, like, looks like hives, rash, goo coming out of. And I was like,
Poor buddy.
I don't have vet income right now. Like,
Yeah.
but immediately ran to the vet, dropped him
Wait.
off, and was like, keep him until he's fixed. And then they called me. They're like, here's this topical stuff. You're fine.
Oh, and you
He's
were like,
good.
"Yes,
And I was literally
$7 or
like,
whatever instead of 700."
yes, it was much cheaper. And I was like, thank you so much. And then they were like, we want to give him all this medication. I said, give him what will work. Do not
Yeah.
charge me. I don't have that kind of money right now. So I'm with you.
Yeah, I think once I get something, like, on the books, I could actually relax. Like right now, I'm kind of in that phase where it's like I feel like I'm not doing enough, even though like I'm doing as much as I can. And I was warned about this from my friend Marcus, and he was also unfortunately let go at Xbox Publishing. And so we have like a WhatsApp group with all of the creatives that were let go, and we just kind of like check in every morning. I think support's a really big part of getting through this, like just how you doing, and then throw in jobs in there that maybe not the job you're going for, but something that they could use.
Yeah, I will say that's something that a lot of people haven't talked much about is yes, having a support network is great. Having people on LinkedIn who are just coming out of left field. I've had people who I haven't talked to in 10 years that were like, loving this, trying to help you get reach. We are hiring at my company. Maybe it's not what you want to do, but if it's a job, like, would love to help you. But interestingly enough, CrowdStrike, 500 of us got axed all of a sudden on the same day. And
Were
the
they the
support's
downtown
been
Bellevue?
amazing.
Were you down the
I
downtown Bellevue
wasn't,
office?
well, so there is one, but I wasn't there. I was
Okay.
fully remote.
Okay.
Yeah, but I will say, like, the people they've created, I think there's like 5 different group chats with all the different people, and depending where you were working, they've set those up. And so if you're listening to this and you don't have that group, maybe you should start the group with the people who got laid off with you, because it's so helpful. Even just
Yeah.
reading it. Sometimes I don't comment, I just giggle at what people are saying.
I like it just knowing you're not alone, like, I
Yeah.
think is a big part of it because working remotely, like, I didn't go into the office every day. And so I think actually it's to kind of think back about like your question about like how am I handling it and have I accepted it yet? Like there isn't a huge amount of difference, right? Like, I'm not going to a meeting with my project anymore, but I'm still waking up in the morning and like having my coffee and like going to my office. And so like, it's starting to settle in, but like it hasn't totally. And I think the difference between this one and I was at a very famous layoff back in 2012. I was at 38 Studios, which was a Kurt Schilling thing, which is a whole nother thing. But I think I don't even know where I was going with that. I was going into the office every day there. There was, like, human interaction all the time, and I actually think that makes this a little easier is because I'm not habitually going to my car at 7:45 to drive into the office or something.
Right. No, of course. I just met with someone for this podcast. The episode hasn't come out yet, but by the time your episode comes out, that episode will be out. And his name's Austin Brown. He is the founder of a new business that just launched called the Layoff Launchpad. And it's essentially that. We just talked about it. Having that structured routine, even when you get laid off, is so important to just helping you stay on top of things and feel normal. You don't have the paycheck. You're not with your coworkers, but you're waking up at the same time. He sends out an email every Monday. It's lovely. And it just kind of gives you tips and tricks. It gives you a recap. It gives you that kind of, I'm opening my email for the day, getting started with
Yep.
work, air quote work, but the work is now the job hunt. The work is now my next hustle type of
Yep.
thing. And
Exactly.
it's lovely.
I think that's really great. Like, I love that, and I love the fact that it's not, like, just for one group of people that were laid off that because sometimes you're like, 3 people got laid off and not everybody, and it's just like, you're kind of feeling like you're lost in the sea.
Yeah, that's hard. I definitely connected with someone who recently got laid off, and they were like, I was one of one. I was like, that's a firing. But
Yes. Oh, that poor person.
yeah, and I was just like, but just know that like there's a community, and if there's anyone in my network, connect with them. Like everyone that I've talked to so far has been super lovely and amazing, and even if you don't know them, connect with them anyways. Who
Yeah.
cares? Like,
Yeah.
see what happens. So I appreciate you sharing all that you've shared so far. I don't want to keep poking at your layoff. I just want to hear about other things. What does a director leveled individual in UX and games, what do you do outside of work? What are your hobbies? What do you do for fun in Washington?
Oh, well, we live in living in Washington, so I got here 2013, and I will say I came from upstate New York originally, so I spent a lot of my time in the Adirondack Mountains, and I love like the Seattle like nature scene out here. Mean, I started skiing again after about 20 years. I took a 20-year break, and so I have Crystal Mountain an hour away from me. I got an Icon pass. I go like 5 times a week because I can go in the morning, get first chair, and then I'm close enough I can get home by my noon meetings, which also I'm going to be so sad if that has to change when I get a new job. But yes, the privilege is oozing from me. But no, I'm just really active. Like, I love hiking. I love skiing. I do a lot of like subversive cross stitch. And so, like, naughty cross stitches all over my house or nerdy. But so I spend a lot of time like cross stitching and I don't game as much as I used to. But thankfully, working at Xbox, you get a Game Pass subscription. And so I've actually had like the best time just kind of I don't have to feel invested and I know there are pros and cons to that and like I probably won't I don't want to go into that, but like the amount of just stuff you have on Game Pass is amazing. Especially like the smaller indie stuff, like I can play I know like yes, I know what I'm gonna get with an Assassin's Creed game. I'm gonna love it. I'm gonna play it for 100 hours. I'm gonna giggle, but, like, I also know what I'm gonna get with that, and so that's what I love about Xbox is you get, like, the indie stuff. So you can, like, goof around with weird stuff.
It's not a sales pitch, but it's low-key a sales pitch. Go get
Okay.
the pass. Do it.
For the value for the dollar, it really is. Like, yes, I know they just, like, laid my ass off, but gosh, I love, like, Game Pass. Game Pass is huge for me, so
Yeah. I mean, I'm all about it. Do it. If you think it's valuable for people who are going to be in this niche of like loving games, go get it. But there was a few things you mentioned that I was like, law of relativity, I want to touch on. So, Upper New York, where?
Albany. So I'm actually from
Albany. So, I'm from St. Albans, Vermont, and like
So I'm from
always across
Altamont.
the
I am from Altamont, which is like even outside of Albany. Oh wait, I spent so much time in Vermont. I love Vermont.
and I've spent a lot of time in New York and like Albany, like that Wolf Road, like going down that and I think there's like a big cheesecake factory and a huge
Yep.
mall. Like
Yep.
love this. This is my friend
I
lived there
worked
for
at that
a
mall
while.
for 10 years. I was at Crossgates Mall between Cinnabon and Houlihan's for 10 years. Yes.
I'm loving this. This is so funny. And so then you moved to the West Coast, you said in 2013?
Oh, well, I've been all over the place. So I moved out to Arizona in like 2020 and then moved to Big Bear Lake, California in 2021. And then I realized while I was in Big Bear that I wanted an office job. I kind of had this like I was like this super party girl, like living around the country and I like had this like premonition where I was like this isn't what I want to do. I want to like I don't want to be a waitress forever. And so I went back to New York. My dad worked at this college RPI, which is in Troy, New York, which I think you probably know of
Yeah.
being in Vermont. So I had the opportunity to go to RPI for free because he worked there and they just came out with their game program. And so I kind of like did this like, well, I've always played games and I've always played games. Like I'm going to take this chance. I know this industry is really shaky, but I'm not going to be in debt. So like if I can't find a job, I'll just figure out something else. And then like through RPI, which is an even like smaller weird thing, is I got a job at Cryptic in Los Gatos, California in 2025, and the CEO, the head programmer,
2015?
Oh, 2005. I'm sorry.
I was like,
Sorry,
that's right now.
yes, no, sorry. What is time? 2005. And like the lead programmer, the lead producer, and the CEO all went to RPI. And they were
Small
buddies
world.
at Alpha Cairo, which I used to go play Doom LAN parties in with like my BBS friends when I was a teenager.
Power of connection and networking.
Well, I mean, like, yeah, I can't say enough for like just being kind to people and like helping each other out.
Yeah, no, that's lovely. And this is what I was trying to get at is like it's such a small world and that we were all of what, 2 hours ish away.
Hmm.
Plattsburgh is probably the closest to me with like taking the ferry or something, but fun little area. And then I was gonna ask, you kind of answered it, but Stevens or Crystal, and you're a Crystal girl. You're not a Stevens
Crystal,
path.
yes. No, no, no. I am 45 years old. I'm not going to go down that like verticality. I would die. Now, my boyfriend is a like he's the one who got me back into snowboarding or skiing. He's a snowboarder. Like he would be at Stevens all day long. But we
Yeah.
live closer to Crystal, so we do Crystal.
I had never been to Stevens and then I moved away and I loved Crystal. I thought it was such a great mountain. And then I won't ride the gondola. That's the only thing I won't do. And
What?
yeah, I just don't like, I'm not about the gondola life. I'll take 3 chairlifts up to the top
The
rather than the
heights?
gondola.
Yeah, because you're like, you're
Yeah.
kind of like wind's hitting you, and yes, I totally get it. I totally get it.
But Stevens is a different beast. That big, steep, I don't even know. I feel like I got the biggest calf cramp being a snowboarder, trying to just stay on the side. Because I was like, if I go straight down, I'm going to die. If
Yeah.
I stay on the side, it goes forever, but I'm literally going to take my calves out. And I did. I had to like take a break. My two friends were just like, are you good? And I'm like,
Yeah,
maybe.
I'll be at the lodge.
I was like, can we
Come
do
find me in
Crystal next
20.
time? Like, I hated this.
I couldn't even handle Alpental. Like, there's no way I can handle Stevens.
I love it. Do you travel around and go snowboarding or skiing other places?
No, I do like to travel. We were gonna go to Japan in February to go to oh my gosh, what is it? Neskio?
Yeah.
Yes. So we'll see. If hopefully if something turns out in the next few weeks, we'll still go. But yeah, like that's traveling and skiing's hard, like there's just so much crap you gotta bring and
Yeah. I
but
know. And
I
renting's
do
no
like to
fun.
travel. Yes, yes, renting's the worst. Oh my God. Renting boots. Oh my God.
You could get a job at Sony and then or yeah, right. And then that's in Japan. Yeah.
It
I'm pretty
is. It
sure, right?
is. If
PlayStation.
don't think I didn't look into I would last about 5 seconds in the Japanese game culture. Like they'd be like, "Get out. Like you are crazy."
I love it.
But I did get to travel a lot for work, which was cool. And so like I've gone to a lot of European countries and China. I did Shanghai once when I was shipping Guild Wars 2 in China. And so I've been really lucky in that way because otherwise I'm cheap and I'm not spending money on like ten to $20,000 vacations.
But yeah. I'm
I'm
like,
gonna
I
go to
pay
Whidbey
rent.
Island. Yeah, exactly.
And people always like, where are you going this week? I rent
Yeah.
in my house. Do you
Yeah.
want to come over? Because I pay for that too. Like, feel free. We have a pool in this community. You want to use the pool? Yeah. So also, we should probably ask this. You're from the gaming industry, and you've talked about games. You've talked about people in the gaming industry. Favorite games, plural.
Ooh, okay. So if we're gonna do favorite games, I would say like IP wise, it's like down to BioShock and Fallout. I think that both those games are like incredibly amazing. If we're going MMOs, I would say I really like Guild Wars, man. Guild Wars 2 is like probably the only MMO I've ever worked on that I've actually played consistency for 5, 6 years.
Okay.
I'm a definite fan of like open world, like RPG type, I love environmental storytelling. Honestly, like enjoy the designer's Easter eggs as much as I like putting them in. So I always try to find the like silly stuff. Like I think humor in games is really hard to hit. So if a game is doing pretty good with humor, like Monkey Island, of course, like it's such an enjoyable experience for me.
Do you think you have a different appreciation for games since playing games in your youth versus getting into the industry and like designing them or talking about them in a larger professional setting?
Because I know how the sausage is made now. Is that what you're kind of asking?
Yeah,
Like,
or
yeah.
the Easter, like before you're like, was that supposed to be there? And now you're like, that was designed for this exact purpose, right?
Yeah, I think it makes me appreciate it more because now, like, I have worked in those tool sets and I know how hard that stuff is to do to like timing, all this stuff. So, like, I think I appreciate it more now that, like, I know what a pain in the butt it is to put in. And time and money, right? Like, if you wanna do something, you wanna make a little vignette, you gotta get art, you gotta get I mean, you've gotta, like, coordinate this and, like, that's money. So, like, that's why also I appreciate it because, like, someone appreciated and wanted to do it enough that, like, they were willing to throw the money behind it, so.
Yeah. Now, what about games that either you've worked on or just like you've seen? They had such great potential and they just didn't get executed. It never
Oh,
came out.
I
Have you
would
had those?
yeah, I mean, that was 38 Studios, that was
Okay.
Copernicus, like, that was Reckoning. Well,
Yeah.
the MMO version of Reckoning, like, it was a really cool project, and, like, we had the best of the best. I think that was a really good kind of social experiment too to kind of watch because I was about 5 years in the industry, and I was working with all these people that were, like, 20 years in the industry at the time. And there was, like, some really good examples of, like, hey, what not to do when you try to make, like, a big company like this. And there was some great examples of, like, what you do do, and so the game was awesome. I mean, we had literally the whole game designed. Like, every zone was done. There was just, like, technical issues, like Unreal and Big World would not play nice together, and, like, money issues came up, and so it just, like yeah, I mean, that was I have never met such a passionate group of people working on a project, like putting their love into it. And I mean, people like R.A. Salvatore, right? Like Bob came to the office constantly. Like he wasn't just like phoning it in. Todd McFarlane would fly in and like show the combat guys. Like I was not there for this, but I heard a story about like him jumping up on the table and like showing these sword movements of like these exaggerated sword movements that would look good in game. And I just like that was really cool because I got to see people that I really respected, like, nerd out as hard as I was on something that we all loved.
Yeah. No, that's really cool that you've been able to have such a cool journey in your career and just have those memories. I wanted to ask one last question, which I ask everyone who joins the podcast. Are you open to people if they resonate with your story, they hear it, they want to nerd out on games with you, connecting with you on LinkedIn?
Of course, absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean, I think I will always make time for folks who reach out. And I may not get respond to your email like within 5 minutes, but like I'll get there and, I love meeting new people and I love like helping other people and, just like I love talking about stuff. So please do, yeah.
That was Nellie Hughes, a powerhouse in game and design, a champion for accessibility and representation, and a reminder that the people you connect with today could shape your career tomorrow. If you're on the job hunt, don't forget my collab with jobhire.ai. You can get 30% off on all plans through August 2025 with the code DRAY30, DRAY30. Check the footer of this episode for the details to make sure you get your promo. If you enjoyed this conversation, share it with a friend, connect with Nellie on LinkedIn, and don't forget to follow the Reboot Era for more honest conversations about life, work, and reinvention. Until next time, keep networking, keep creating, and keep moving forward.